Revelation Wisdom Ministries International. 2025, Reigning with Christ Jesus in Higher Realms and Conquering Territories by Fearful Manifestations. Quest for Recompensation, Restitution and Restoration for Destiny Fulfillment. Day 2, Mountain of God Convocation 12th Edition. Part-63, Deliverance of Names from Evil Impartations. Preacher, Apostle and Prophet of God Onyango Marco Ching. Date, 19th day of the 12th month 2025. Today, we are in Part 63 of Quest for Recompensation, Restitution and Restoration for Destiny Fulfillment. Church is built on 3 foundations, and these are the doctrines of the apostles, prophets, and Jesus Christ. We are looking at the deliverance of names. What if Jesus was not called Jesus? What if Jesus was not baptized and his name substituted with another name? You need to have a name that benefits you so that you can receive heavenly resources so that here on earth you fulfill destiny. That is why there is need for a change of names or the deliverance of names. Deliverance of names would mean that the contents within a name is removed. Daniel 1:1-4. 1 In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim king of Judah came Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon unto Jerusalem, and besieged it. 2 And the Lord gave Jehoiakim king of Judah into his hand, with part of the vessels of the house of God, which he carried into the land of Shinar to the house of his God, and he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his God. 3 And the king spake unto Ashpenaz the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes. 4 Children in whom was no blemish, but well-favored, and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge, and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans. When you walk you must be full of health and full of life. You must have stability, which is a show of strength. That is why the king of Babylon was keen on choosing so that he would have the best to serve in his palace. He was also looking for those that were teachable. You can have your destiny star swapped through a meal. You can have your destiny star swapped over a piece of chicken. Over a drink your destiny can be swapped. Satan will question, who is this that has a destiny star that is great? They were looking at royalty. Are you born in the line of royalty? Satan looks at those that have bright stars. He searches, are you favored? Where do you eat? With whom are you eating? Where does the food come from and to whom is it dedicated? We are learning that destiny stars can easily be swapped over a meal. So for Nebuchadnezzar, the entire time that people were eating on the table he was exchanging their destinies. He was changing their minds, changing their visions, changing their stars, changing their dreams and manipulating them towards their side so that they are not on God's side, instead they are on his side. You need to understand this so that you get to know where did you lose it. There are beds when you sleep you lose your star. That is why I tell people it is dangerous to sleep anyhow anywhere. Only when you have no choice then you can get yourself a guest house and dedicate that bed, dedicate the beddings, including the room, and sanctify them through prayer. You can also have the swapping of your destiny stars by the attires that you wear. There are years when we would buy used underwear, used bras. We had many open doors through which the enemy could come into our lives. Impartations can come through such, and that is the danger of wearing second-hand clothes. That is the danger of buying used blankets, used sheets and bed covers. Because they carry importations. Daniel 1:6-21. 6 Now among these were of the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. 7 Unto whom the prince of the eunuchs gave names, for he gave unto Daniel the name of Belteshazzar, and to Hananiah, of Shadrach, and to Mishael, of Meshach, and to Azariah, of Abednego. Daniel and the 3 Hebrew boys found themselves in a scenario in which their names were changed. The enemy changed their names to suit his God. 8 But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank, therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. We can be defiled through food and drink, and also our identity can be defiled. 9 Now God had brought Daniel into favor and tender love with the prince of the eunuchs. 10 And the prince of the eunuchs said unto Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who hath appointed your meat and your drink, for why should he see your faces worse looking than the children which are of your sort? Then shall ye make me endanger my head to the king. 11 Then said Daniel to Melzar, whom the prince of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. 12 Prove thy servants, I beseech thee, 10 days, and let them give us pulse to eat, and water to drink. 13 Then let our countenances be looked upon before thee, and the countenance of the children that eat of the portion of the king's meat, and as thou seest, deal with thy servants. 14 So he consented to them in this matter, and proved them 10 days. 15 And at the end of 10 days their countenances appeared fairer and fatter in flesh than all the children which did eat the portion of the king's meat. 16 Thus Melzar took away the portion of their meat, and the wine that they should drink, and gave them pulse. 17 As for these 4 children, God gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. 18 Now at the end of the days that the king had said he should bring them in, then the prince of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar. 19 And the king communed with them, and among them all was found none like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, therefore stood they before the king. 20 And in all matters of wisdom and understanding, that the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers that were in all his realm. 21 And Daniel continued even unto the first year of King Cyrus. Daniel was 14 years old when they were captured and taken into captivity. At the age of 14 he knew that eating any kind of way could result into him selling his own destiny, and that is why he did not accept to eat of the king's delicacies. Daniel and the 3 Hebrew boys were given names. The name given to Daniel was Belteshazzar, which is a god that Nebuchadnezzar honored. Therefore to change the name of Daniel was so that Daniel would serve that god. Nebuchadnezzar was after hijacking and swapping the destiny of Daniel and the 3 Hebrew boys, so the names were changed. Today, I want us to know that there is something in the change of names. There are names that Satan will seek to change because your name matters and matters destiny. Praise the Lord. Daniel later turns out to be a man of destiny that God used. He became one that was a prophet and an asset to the kings. So one way of making sure that he was wrestled and that his destiny was wrestled and manipulated is the change of names. When you go to work for Arabs, for example, they change your names. There is something that they know, and it's about the names, and if there was nothing in a name, then they would not change the names. Joseph. In matters destiny you find that Joseph, son of Jacob, when he was taken into Pharaoh's house, or when he was assigned to serve in various kingdoms, he was given another name. Pharaoh gave Joseph another name, so that in Egypt Joseph did not go by the name Joseph, instead, he went by the name Zaphnath-Paneah. Why did Pharaoh change Joseph's name? Paul's original name was Saul. For him to be used of God and to serve God so as to fulfill destiny, there was need for a change of names. This proved that even in the Bible we have people who had their names changed for the purpose of destiny fulfillment. Matthew 16:17. 17 And Jesus answered and said unto him, Blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood hath not revealed it unto thee, but my Father which is in heaven. Peter. Jesus named Simon Peter, meaning rock, and eventually Peter did serve in conformity with the very name that Jesus gave him. Jesus built upon him the church. Matthew. A majority of the disciples of Jesus had a change of names. Matthew's original name was Levi the tax collector. Jesus would not use him with that name, and that means that there are names, if you have them, they are a limitation in you fulfilling destiny. There are some names that can take you nowhere, they simply ground you. There's some names that simply remove your wheels. Jesus first went into prayers and stayed in the presence of God before he could make a selection of his disciples. Luke 6:12-17. 12 And it came to pass in those days, that he went out into a mountain to pray, and continued all night in prayer to God. 13 And when it was day, he called unto him his disciples, and of them he chose 12, whom also he named apostles. 14 Simon, whom he also named Peter, and Andrew his brother, James and John, Philip and Bartholomew. 15 Matthew and Thomas, James the son of Alphaeus, and Simon called Zealots. 16 And Judas the brother of James, and Judas Iscariot, which also was the traitor. 17 And he came down with them, and stood in the plain, and the company of his disciples, and a great multitude of people out of all Judea and Jerusalem, and from the sea coast of Tyre and Sidon, which came to hear him, and to be healed of their diseases. Before Jesus entrusted his disciples with ministry, he changed their names. That is the reason behind baptism. When you're baptized, your name goes through regeneration. Your name can be loaded so that you're not able to go far in life. Today we may not really change your name per se, because not everybody can go to court and make an affidavit change of their names, but we can spiritually alter the meaning of your name. We can spiritually alter the contents of your names, and that is called deliverance. You can cut out the spirit of your husband out of your name in case you have been divorced. There's some women who do not have destiny breakthroughs because they possess the name of a man who is no longer in their lives. Therefore, the spirit that oppresses the man also oppresses you. The dreams that you can have can take you back to your primary school, and such dreams can actually be coming from God to remind you that there is something that is blocking your life. God can be telling you that there is something that Satan is using as a legal ground through something that happened to you while you're in primary school. Therefore, you can pray your prayers backwards. Example, you can pray matters 30 years or 40 years in the past so not you can have your destiny delivered. So when you get such dreams, God is literally saying address that matter. Whereas the matter may have happened 30 to 40 plus years ago, but it is currently affecting you now. Some of you treat God like the devil after getting dreams that take you back to your past. Every door that your name has opened for demonic traffic, you must pray so that you can be delivered. If you have 3 names and you are using them, you deliver all the 3 names. But your names can remain the way they are spelled. However, the content in the name and the impartation that be in the name is what you must deal with. Ending in prayers.